Emails from Afar, a chef's culinary adventure around the world. By Mike Sanders.
Hi guys. So this chapter is going to be a little bit different. There aren't very many pictures for this chapter. I really don't feel like trying to cobble something up from the internet with pictures that I found. So I'm just going to read the chapter to you. As some of you know, and if you'd watched one of the previous chapters, I'm horribly dyslexic. Now, auto-spell and autocorrect and all those sort of things really help. But having said that, when it comes to reading out loud, I have to do 15 or 20 takes in the recording and then cobble up the sentences together to make one video. Me reading a paragraph smoothly or even 3 sentences smoothly is going to be a challenge. So if the camera jumps around, that's probably why it's happening, is because it'll take multiple passes to get this done. So bear with me. Any pictures that we did take, I'll have up in this area and this area and that kind of thing. So because there are some pictures, but mostly not. So with that said, let's get on with it. (12/21), day 36. Luang Prabang in northern Laos is considered to be one of the last unspoiled places in Southeast Asia. It also happens to be Southeast Asia's monk capital, with a reported 3-to-1 ratio over the locals. This was our destination. Our bus to Luang didn't leave until 8 p.m., meaning we had a whole day to kill, and then a long ride through the night, and would then arrive sometime in the late afternoon. The bus was a modern sealed AC version with reclining seats, and in the back was a restroom that was so small it made an airline toilet look spacious. Once on board, the cool air was nice on my hot and sticky skin. The entire ride was supposed to last 18 hours and cost us only 800 baht per person, which is about $18 US. We could have flown from Chiang Mai to Vientiane, the capital, and then on to Luang Prabang for $300 a person, but compared to $18 for the bus, we had to stay on the ground. We found out that you can take a speedboat down the Mekong to Luang, but we've heard horror stories about that, so the bus it was. The first hour of the ride wasn't so bad. We crossed the length of Chiang Mai, allowing Sarah and I to see parts of it we hadn't gotten to see. The bus meandered its way through town, which slowly gave way to farmhouses and the occasional rice paddy. The TV mounted above the driver was showing the end of some documentary about the Vietnam War. For about 8 minutes I was really having a good time. Driving through the city in early evening, something educational on the TV, I was really enjoying it. Just as I was getting comfortable, the video changed to a gong show style variety thing, replete with bad music, bad dancing, and a really bad Michael Jackson impersonator. It played for a grueling 3 hours at decibels well above what would be considered safe for the human ear. By the time we got into the northern foothills, we'd been on the road for 3.5 hours, and the AC had been cranked the whole way. The bad variety hour was still blaring on the TV and was starting to give me a headache. The bus company provided a little gray blanket, but it didn't go very far. It looked like an old surplus airline blanket from the 50s. Threadbare and tattered, it smelled like the mule it had once washed. When we left Chiang Mai Station, it was close to 85 humid degrees, where shorts, thin shirts, and sandals are appropriate. Now, with the air conditioning working overtime, and the outside temperature around 60 degrees, we were freezing. It didn't take long for the little ratty mule blanket to look better and better. By 1:45 a.m. it was so cold in the bus that you could see your breath. No exaggeration. Back in the rear of the bus, the toilet was clogged and began to overflow, which made the bus smell just like you'd think it would. We had to endure this frozen turd hell for almost 5 hours until 6:30 a.m., until we pulled into the town of Udon Thani. Once stopped at the station, we got off the bus, collected our bags, and stepped right onto the dilapidated bus bound for the town of Nong Khai. Literally that fast. If I thought the first bus trip was cold, I was in for a big shock. We sat up front by the driver, hoping to catch a little heat from the heater at the dashboard. Much to our surprise and dismay, as we sped down the road, the front and the back doors were kept open. The misty cold morning roared through the bus at a bone-chilling 50 to 60 miles an hour. We huddled together with our backpacks sat in our lap to help shield ourselves from this icy blast. We had to suffer this new frozen torture until we arrived at the town of Nong Khai, about an hour away. When we stepped off the bus, I was chilled to the bone and began to shake pretty heavily. As a kid growing up in Colorado, I learned at ski camp that uncontrollable shaking is a sign of hypothermia and quite serious. I also learned that if you do 5 minutes of jumping jacks, it'll generate enough body heat to keep you warm for 1 hour. I stretched my stiff muscles as best I could and proceeded to attempt a few jumping jacks. They looked like the feeble flailings of a spastic monkey trying to do the jitterbug, and rather comical at first, but within 5 minutes my muscles were warm to the point of a light sweat. I dug out my only long sleeve shirt, 3 t-shirts, and another pair of socks. It helped a bit, but not near enough. Around 9 a.m. we came to the Friendship Bridge, linking Thailand and Laos. It suddenly dawned on me that the river we were crossing was the Mekong, the mighty and mythic Mekong. As we pulled away from the bridge in the minivan, I watched a new country begin to unfold in front of my eyes. Laotians drive on the left side of the road, so halfway across the bridge, we switched sides, left to right and right to left. Just as the bus had completed crossing the bridge, I looked out to the left and saw the largest flag I've ever seen. Well, actually, it was 2 of the largest flags I've ever seen. The Laotian flag, a red field with a central blue stripe centered with a white circle, and the flag of the Communist Party, a red flag with a hammer and sickle in brilliant yellow. The sight of the hammer and sickle struck a deep chord in me. I'm not sure if it's because if I grew up in the 70s and 80s where I'm a product of the Cold War, when we were raised to hate communism, or if it's the fact as an American passport holder, I was in a communist country. Either way, I felt like I was doing something wrong, or was going somewhere I shouldn't be, or even somewhere I shouldn't was allowed to be. As we made our way down the heavily potholed road, we passed the Beer Lao factory. Apparently Laos makes only 2 things in their country, beer and opium. The next leg of our ride lasted for another hour and a half before we arrived at Vientiane Station. Once again, we stepped off the bus, changed our bags from one luggage compartment to the other, and got on. Before we were even in our seats, the bus started to pull away. 20 minutes after leaving Vientiane Station, the bus pulled over next to a pickup truck loaded with cardboard boxes. 3 men hopped out of the truck and got on it. One scrambled to the top of the roof of the bus, while the other started throwing boxes up to him. The driver told us that the bus was also used as a shipping truck, and that we would be loading things like cigarettes, rice, and tires today. After 30 minutes, the roof of the bus was crammed with boxes from stem to stern. The back 4 rows of the bus, empty when we stopped, were now filled with tires, green rubber hoses, 50-pound bags of rice, and 2 chickens in a cage. We finally got underway for what was to be a harrowing experience. All but 2 of the passengers were locals, and all but 2 of the passengers had nasty colds. About an hour into our trip, a child a few rows away threw up all over his father, and a woman at the front of the bus did the same a little while later. The custom in Asia seems to be to just hack up a loogie and spit it wherever you are, whether it be in a train station, or on the street, or in this case, the aisle of a bus. Apparently that goes for vomit as well. The bus itself was something else. Built sometime in the 60s, it had all the hallmarks of a school bus, including the familiar drop-down windows and no seat belts. The seats were forged by Lucifer himself, as they were little more than iron slabs with big square bolts studded right across the top and quite strategically placed to either dig into the side of your hip or right into your hoo-hoo. On butts that already had 14 hours on them, it was murderous. In the back of the bus there were 2 stern-faced PDLR soldiers with AK-47s at the ready. Up at the front, some big, oily, tough guy with a shotgun was riding, well, shotgun. I'm not sure if they were there to protect us or the cargo, but I suspect it was the cargo. It seemed like we stopped every 20 yards to drop someone off or pick someone else up, and just as we would begin to pick up speed, we would slow down again. It was maddening. People with chickens or pigs would get on and off. Little villages came and went. Lucky for us, one of the pigs let fly with the soupy shit that covered the back 2 rows. After that, the vomit didn't smell so bad anymore. Following 6 long painful hours of sick people hacking and coughing, we stopped for some food and a bathroom break. I was at the point of asking them to pull over. I had to pee so bad, so the break was greatly welcomed. My body was running on empty, and my legs felt like noodles, but it felt good to get off my ass. The bus stopped at a small roadside cafe, which was only there because the bus needed a place to stop. Sarah and I shared a little bowl of sticky rice with a soda and tried to revive ourselves. I didn't really trust the food. The conditions looked kinda scary. At the 30-minute sharp mark, we were back on the bus and on the road. After lunch, we made some really good time. There was no stopping and starting for passengers this time. The driver was going for broke the whole way. We passed through grassy plains, up and over jungle-covered mountain passes, and over raging rivers. Around one mountain corner, we saw a broken-down bus that looked like someone had used it for target practice, as all the glass had been shot out, the tires were shredded, and the side was filled with bullet holes. It was a shooting bus. The driver was chain smoking the whole time, and I mean chain smoking. I saw an empty pack go flying out the window every 40 minutes or so. No exaggeration. None. It seemed to me that he was bent on smoking as many cigarettes as possible before we reached Luang Prabang, or maybe he was just trying to finish the job of completely covering the roadside in trash. Hill after hill, mile after mile, the pain in my legs and back continued. After not stopping again for another 6 hours, I had to pee so bad I thought I was going to cry. Not learning from the first 6 hours of the trip, I foolishly had a bottle of water in with the soda we had for lunch and was now paying the price. I tried everything I could to take my mind off the pain. I played mind games, I watched the sunset, I sung the entire Ween album, The Mollusk, in my head. I tried to think of home, anything and everything to get my mind off the painful pressure in my bladder. At 7:45, Sarah offered to go up to the front and see if she could get the driver to pull over for a bathroom break for me, but when she asked the girlfriend of Mr. Shotgun, she told Sarah that we would be stopping in just a little while. Okay, I'll try to hold on. 8 p.m. came and went, and then 8:15, and then 8:30, and then 8:45. By this time I was actually starting to get hot and sweaty. Every second was a minute, every minute was an hour, and every bump in the road was a dagger. Finally 9 p.m. came and went. At that moment, with the torture of the last 24 hours, the frozen turd bus, the wind tunnel bus, the first 6 hours of this bus ride with the occasional puking, exploding pigs, and sick people coughing and hacking, the 16 hours of hard cramped seats, the last 6 hours of an iron slab with sharp bolts in my ass, little food, no sleep, compounded with the agony of my bladder, I reached my mental breaking point. All of a sudden it hit me like a brilliant flash of white light. The same kind of flash of light you see when you get hit in the nose. Disorienting and painful. In that burst of brilliant light, I had an epiphany. A snap moment of pure clarity came over me. Instantly I felt awake, alert, and confident. And the fog in my mind had lifted, and the pain in my body was gone. I felt good. I had reached two monumental conclusions. One, this bus ride would never, ever, ever, ever end. And two, I was about to piss myself. I was resolute and sure of what I had to do. I wasn't going to be embarrassed. After all, it was in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, Laos. Who cares what these people think of me? Body functions can't be stopped. In fact, I think I've earned the right to piss myself after the last 15 hours. Ha! Let's raise the stakes. I see you're vomiting in the aisle, and raise you one pissing yourself in the seat. Like a full glass of water at the brink of tipping over, in my mind, I felt the will that was the keystone in the dam of my resistance break. All of my cares gave away, and I prepared for the deluge of sweet, sweet relief. But nothing happened. Mildly surprised, I figured I just needed to relax a bit. So I closed my eyes and let the darkness envelop me, and I took a few deep breaths. I felt a wave of calm come over me, and my muscles in my neck loosened, my lower back released, but my bladder didn't. Now I wanted to piss myself. I needed relief. Now. I had already accepted the fact that I was going to piss myself, and now that I couldn't, it was totally frustrating. I thought maybe all I needed to do was give the glass a little push, and the flood would be unstoppable. Once again, I closed my eyes, leaned back, and pushed a little bit. The pain was enormous as I strained and strained, but I couldn't pee. I just couldn't, no matter how hard I tried. As my mind was coming to terms with the fact that I didn't piss myself, involuntary or not, and there was nothing I could do about it, the bus began to slow down. We came to a squeaky halt around 9:30 for the long-awaited bathroom break. Before the bus even came to a stop, the soldiers were up with their guns at the ready. As the wheels stopped, they flew out of the door, one going left and the other going right. They pointed their rifles at the jungle and waited for 1 minute, and then 2, and then 3. These were the worst 5 minutes for me. I had to just sit there and wait for the all-clear signal before we could get up. At long last, we were finally able to get off the bus, boys to the left, girls to the right. With a hunched back, I walked a few yards and found myself a little bush and pissed the piss of the angels. Never in my life have I felt such relief. After a few more mountains, we rolled in the bus station of Luang Prabang around 10:30 p.m. We dragged our tired and sore bodies off the bus and collected our backpacks. They felt like they had been filled with concrete. I could barely pick up Sarah's bag to help her get it on, and once she was strapped in, she damn near fell over backwards. We smelled like a barnyard and our bodies were stomped jello, but we had made it. Now all we needed to do was find a place to shower and pass out. There was a small fleet of tuk-tuks waiting on the other side of the dirt lot. We told one of the drivers that the name of the hotel we wanted to go to. Of course, we couldn't just get in and go to the hotel with ease. This being Southeast Asia, we had to haggle the price. With pulverized bodies and completely drained brain, it was difficult to find the patience to do the money conversions in our head. In Laos, the conversion is 13,000 kip to the dollar. So when the guy said 45,000 kip for the ride, Sarah and my red flag went up. 45,000? Are you kidding me? I don't care if that's only $3. We're in the middle of northern Laos, in one of the poorest countries on earth. In Thailand, we were paying 30 to 45 baht, or less than $1 for a taxi ride. No way. Sarah came back with an offer of 5,000 for the ride. This got the man's ire up a bit. With a stern, gravelly voice, he said, 45,000, no less. Sarah smiled and gently countered with 15,000. The man looked deeply insulted and refused. Sarah said that was fine. We would go find somebody else around here who wanted to make a little money tonight. This caught the man completely off guard. He shifted his weight from one leg to the other, eyeballed Sarah up and down for a second, and in a cold business voice said, 20,000. Again, she smiled and said that would be just fine. With this arrangement, we piled into the tuk-tuk and headed off to the hotel. Originally an old colonial house, now a hotel, the Apsara was a sight for sore eyes. By the time we checked into our hotel room, it was 11 p.m. We'd been on the road for the past 28 hours straight. It was a nightmare day. Our clothes stunk so bad, I put them in a trash can and left them outside our door. 12/23, day 38. We slept for close to 17 hours today, getting up only long enough to go downstairs and eat a huge late breakfast. Laos was a French colony from the early 1890s to the late 1940s, and its influence on food was, and still is, tremendous. The light breakfast menu alone had an Niçoise salad, a few different pâtés, a brie and fruit tray, baguette sandwiches, omelets, and at the bottom of the menu read, Real French Press Coffee. All of it was outstanding in preparation and presentation. We were so impressed by the food that we went back for dinner. I had a white bean stew that was just like what my little Italian grandmother used to make. The olive oil drizzled on top was so fragrant that at first I thought my nose had caught the scent of an exotic flower on the table. No kidding. We also split an order of fish cakes. Now I don't go in for fish cakes, and I will admit that right up front. Surprisingly, these cakes had a lemongrass thing going on, and the sauce was a delicious green goddess number. Not bad for fish cakes. Not bad at all. As we finished our small watercress and sea salt salad, which came as the last course, thank you very much, the owner came to the table. I started in about the food and how good it was when he pulled a copy of the Christmas Eve dinner menu. It took me about 1 second before I was making reservations. We talked about what it was like to live here as an expat and what the locals in the area were really like. Over a pot of real French press coffee, we told him our story and what we hope to accomplish in the coming months. News flash. The owner then proceeded to tell us that 3 days ago, a bus headed to Luang Prabang from Vientiane was stopped by rebels, the passengers robbed, and 2 French tourists were kidnapped and then later executed. Their bodies were found floating down the Mekong River earlier today. The bus was attacked by locals who are pissed off at the government's decision over their opium issue. The issue being not that the government has declared it illegal and won't let them grow it, but that the growers are forced to sell their crop to the government at a greatly reduced price. The state then turns around and sells it on the black market for 1,000% markup, or so the story goes. The rebels are trying to destabilize the government by any means, including terrorism against tourists. The bus that was stopped was the same bus en route that we were on yesterday. Not only that shot up pink carcass of a bus we passed on the side of the road was the actual bus that got hit. I'm so glad we can't tell military time and missed our first bus out of Chiang Mai. Seeing as how we should have been on the bus from Chiang Mai to Vientiane 3 days ago, and that there's only 1 bus a day from Vientiane to Luang, which was our final destination, there's a high probability that we would have been on that bus. I suspect that they even hold that bus from the one arriving from Chiang Mai. I remember literally stepping off one bus and onto the other, the engine's already running. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. 12/24, day 39. We spent the day taking it easy. Sarah's fighting a cold, a gift from our bus ride up here. In the afternoon, we took a short walk around the town and visited some of the temples. All day long, we talked about our upcoming dinner. Christmas dinner started off with a rather brute champagne and warm cashews awaiting us at an immaculately set table. The rich oils of the nut gave the lingering champagne on the palate a nice balance. While enjoying the nuts, Sarah and I debated the menu. By chance, we decided to order the exact opposite of what the other did, which gave us a chance to try everything that they were offering. Sarah's appetizer consisted of 3 small ravioli stuffed with pumpkin and black pepper puree on an amaretto biscuit topped with sage butter. The pepper gave the pumpkin a snap that it so sorely lacks, the butter a richness, and the sage cut through the pumpkin's thick flavor. I had the house gravlax with mustard dill mayonnaise, which was served with a mini warm baguette. Un-effing believable. It was ambrosia, no other way to put it. The presentation of the food was perfectly classic French. Elegant, simple, and clean. The small pool of sauce and the tiny side of shredded pickled beets really brought the flavors together. The sharpness of the pickle set against the creaminess of the fish and the mayo, with the dill and the lightness of everything, it was really, really damn good. Our entrees were just as amazing as the first course. Sarah had the fried tofu with vegetables with basil leaves on a bed of garlic ginger arugula, served with a side of steamed rice and spicy tomato jam. I've never had tofu so good. It was drenched in sauce, yet remained crispy and full of body when bit into. The sauce that the tofu and the veggies were in was almost as addictive as cocaine. I had a small taste, and then another, and then another, and another. Sarah smacked my hand and told me to stop eating off her plate. I just wanted to order a bowl and drink the stuff straight. Damn, it was good. She told me to concentrate on my entree, which would be just as good. And you know what? She was right. I had the pot-roasted stuffed quail stuffed with pancetta and basil, served with mint parsley mashed potatoes and chili fried green beans. The quail had been completely deboned, so there was no annoying little bits to play with. The play of the minty mashed potatoes and the anise flavor of the basil set against the fatty, salty pancetta made for something like an orchestra in the mouth. Succulent and delicate, it was as good as anything could ever hope to create anywhere. For dessert, I had the poached dashi pear and lime ginger syrup with coconut ice cream, and Sarah got the coconut almond cake with red berry sauce. The berry was something like a cranberry, but not bitter, and meaty like a cherry. Perhaps it was the fruit of the dong mai tree. I'll have to ask. Just as we were finishing up, the French press coffee pot arrived, complete with a small plate of handmade hazelnut truffles, Jamaican rock sugar, and cream that was so thick, and heavy, it was like marshmallow fluff. I'm not a big coffee fan, but I would sing the praises of that cup of joe all day. Rich, smooth, it's what all other coffee aspires to be. And the cream, my God, the cream. It was as thick as putty, for Christ's sake, and as sweet as sugar. Along with our coffee, we were offered a digestif of our choice. Sarah chose the warm snifter of Cointreau, and I enjoyed some Armagnac the same way. All in all, it was the best French meal I have ever had, hands down. And I'm in Laos. I would have never have thought that. Sometimes, surprises come in the least expected places. Merry Christmas to me.